It's hard to believe ChatGPT was released not that long ago and became the fastest growing product of all time. And it's kicked off this new renaissance in AI with thousands of new AI startups launching and billions of dollars being invested in pre-launch products. Even massive public companies like Microsoft and Nvidia are seeing their stocks hit all-time highs, driven largely by their moves around AI. But we're now finally starting to see the first signs of that hype fading away. Recently, two of the highest flying generative AI startups, Jasper and Mutiny, started laying off employees. Jasper was probably the single biggest success story for a company built on top of ChatGPT, and I heard they saw massive churn in their customers, cutting their revenue in half, from a high of 150 million to 75. News also came out that ChatGPT saw its monthly traffic and users decline for the first time, and visits to Character.AI, which was the second most popular chatbot, dropped 35%. That's led many experts to say this is a sign that chatbots' novelty is wearing off. And to top it off, the maker of ChatGPT OpenAI is now being investigated by the FTC for potentially violating consumer protection laws. So, is this the beginning of the end for what some have called the biggest bubble of all time? Or just a temporary lull in the AI revolution to come? So let's figure out what's actually going on here. Okay, so let's look at the most recent negative news and dig deeper. SimilarWeb showed that ChatGPT's monthly traffic declined for the first time since its launch, with visitors down 6% and time on site down 8.5%. But keep in mind, ChatGPT still attracts more visitors than Microsoft Bing. And there's some other factors here. First is seasonality from students using ChatGPT during school. In off periods like the summer holidays, there's just likely a lot less usage. Second, ChatGPT usage might be dropping because it's catalyzed the launch of other competitive AI products. Google famously rushed to market their own chatbot, Bard, and Microsoft's own chatbot, powered by ChatGPT, could also mean that while direct traffic to ChatGPT is declining, usage of these new AI products and even OpenAI itself in total might be increasing. But even more important than raw website traffic numbers is long-term retention. Nowhere is this lesson made more obvious than in looking at Threads, Meta's alternative to Twitter. Threads dethroned ChatGPT as the fastest growing product in history, reaching 100 million users in just 5 days. But that said, retention has been horrible, with DAUs down by a half just a week later. So while the novelty of AI draws massive usage, products will have to figure out how to actually keep users hooked and provide ongoing value. Okay, but what about all this regulatory risk? The FTC has been investigating OpenAI for possible violations of consumer protection law. But this is more, in my opinion, a reflection of OpenAI's incredible pace of innovation to reach the level of importance for regulators to look at it in the first place. And while regulators have played a much more active role in tech recently, the FTC has been more bark than bite, losing its efforts to block Activision's $69 billion sale to Microsoft and the sale of Within to Meta. So maybe OpenAI will be fine, but what about all these other AI startups starting to lay off people? Well, it's important to keep in mind that all of tech has been suffering, from small startups to giants like Microsoft and Meta, after an unprecedented period of overhiring. Jasper shot out of the gates, growing to nearly 600 employees within a couple years. And Mutiny also quadrupled their headcount. So it's not terribly surprising that both have since streamlined some of their team a bit. Maybe more importantly though, this is a reflection of how fragile a position many of these companies that have built on ChatGPT are. When Jasper first launched, they were clearly a market leader, but have since attracted several new AI-powered copywriting competitors, like Copy.AI, Writer, Sonic, and more. And at the same time, ChatGPT itself has gotten better at writing copy. It's a reminder that although many companies will find initial success building thin wrappers on top of these foundation models, the ones that hope to have any chance of enduring will need to build moats, whether that's unique training data, proprietary growth channels, brand, etc. At the end of the day, every tech platform goes through some form of hype cycle and adoption curve. There's some initial period of overhyped expectations, followed by a more sober reversion to understanding the true sweet spot for technology. While we're still in the early days, we're also seeing many signals that this is a real generational shift. Companies like MosaicML and Casetext have already been acquired for $1.3 billion and $650 million respectively by heavyweight companies like Databricks and Thomson Reuters. Also, unlike the hype cycles for crypto, we're seeing use cases that create real value across a wide swath of the economy, including the largest companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Adobe, and Salesforce, all making their own announcements around their own LLM-enabled new product features. AI isn't just limited to tech either. There's a huge heterogeneity in adoption, including brands like Coke using AI to create advertisements, financial companies like Bloomberg using AI to offer new research products, or personal injury attorneys using AI to help write their court filings. And AI will continue to seep its way into more and more sectors as it becomes easier to use the technology via APIs or the growing open source ecosystem. Some of these will be huge successes, but there's also going to be this explosion of small teams that have a huge impact as it becomes easier to build an AI company. The ones that persist will figure out a way to build beyond the novelty and drive long-term retention. It's clear from ChatGPT and others that AI drives incredible novelty, but threads have proven that's not enough. And yes, there will continue to be more twists and turns to come in the AI hype cycle, but we should learn to live with it. Every other hype cycle had their own spectacular flameouts, whether it was Webvan and Pets.com in the early days of the .com era, or Foursquare in the early days of mobile. So while many of the early successes we're now seeing in AI may end up being failures, there will be winners, and potentially bigger than any that came before. I'll be covering my journey to find the next big thing in AI on this channel, so please give this video a like and subscribe if you'd like YouTube to show you more of that content. Thanks so much, see you next time.